gorgeous. Welcome to the Ready to Bloom podcast, which features interviews with inspiring women entrepreneurs from around the world. Thank you so much for joining us today. Now, without further ado, I'll hand you over to your host, Holly Wharton.
Hello and welcome to the Ready to Bloom podcast, episode 106. This is your host, Holly Wharton, and I'm here with today's special guest, Nicci Bonfanti from Trusted Sales Dynamics. After a long career in international sales and marketing, Nicci used her MBA to set up her coaching and training business, which was put on hold when her daughter was born. But in the last 5 years, she has revitalized that and now runs sales coaching courses for business owners and corporate sales training programs with her company, Trusted Sales Dynamics. Welcome, Nicci.
Thank you. Welcome to you, Holly. Thanks.
I'm so excited to talk to you today about what you do.
Me too.
I think you've got a very different take on sales that people will really resonate with. So very excited. So why don't you start by telling us a little bit about your background and your business journey and how you got to where you are today?
Okay, well, people that have seen me give talks and presentations will probably guess that I used to be a teacher because I usually give handouts and homework to people. So that hasn't left me. But I used my teaching to escape the UK and go to Italy and taught English as a foreign language. And from there, got into a sales career working with a publishing company. So I traveled around Italy doing teacher training and selling language materials, which was probably one of the best jobs I ever had. And from there, I learned that my style of selling wasn't what they taught you on the courses. It wasn't go in there and tell everybody about what you had to sell. But I was genuinely and naturally curious about what people were interested in. So at the very beginning of my career, I would go in and ask questions and find out what it was they really wanted. And sometimes say to them, actually, what you want isn't in our company. I haven't got anything to give you, but I'll feed it back. And if we do come out with some new materials, I'll let you know. So that helped me to build trust, and people would invite me back and ask my advice. And whilst I felt uncomfortable and I wouldn't tell anyone what I was doing in the sales meetings because I thought it was wrong, that actually got me more success, more foot in the door, more appointments. And I was promoted every year or got a new job every year for my 15-year career in sales and ended up as a sales director. And so that was a very interesting career. It took me all over the world. I worked all over Europe, Eastern Europe, countries I'd never heard of. In Asia, I did a lot of work, some in America. So I got to see the world. But what I really, really wanted in my life was a baby. And that didn't happen for me until I was 39. And then when it did, I just stopped working. I didn't want to travel. I didn't want to go up to London. I didn't want to commute. I just wanted to stay at home with my baby. So I put it all on hold. But I was very, very lucky in that just before she was born, I completed my MBA with the Open University, and they kept me on as a lecturer. Oh. So my Saturday job for the last 15 years has been lecturing in management, and that was a godsend to me because it meant I could work just on Saturdays when my husband was around to look after the baby. It helped me use my brain. It got me back out there. And so I was really grateful for that opportunity, and I still am because it's a fascinating area of work to work in. And then I did little jobs, like I set up a language school to teach Italian in my living room, and I sold children's books in my dining room, and I did lots of little entrepreneurial things. But once my daughter was around 7 or 8 and went to junior school, I got my kind of ambitious mojo back and set up a company then called Manage to Improve because I wanted to do more management training. And that was great. Almost instantly I got a massive contract to work with the post office, Royal Mail, and that took me all over the country and paid me well, and I did lots of work. And I thought, oh, this is easy. and I think I made a mistake that a lot of people do when they first set up their business is I didn't look after my pipeline. I didn't think about the future. I just thought, well, I got that contract. There'll be more. and so once that contract was finished, gosh, I hit the ground hard and had a few months with hardly any work at all. And during that time, I retrained as an NLP practitioner. And as part of that training, I had coaching training. And it seems bizarre now, but I'd never realized that I was a coach. And that training was just amazing to me. It just opened my eyes to a natural talent that I'd been using all through my career with my staff and with my clients that I'd never given a name before. So that opened up a whole branch of coaching, and I worked with clients, and I just found that I had a natural gift for it. I could just, whenever I work with a client, I just sense what it is that they need and tell them. And I'm sure a lot of coaches can recognize that feeling, that it's a real privilege to have people open up and to be able to share so much, but they can only go so far, and then they can't see it because it's too close to them.
Well, it sounds like your natural sales technique had a lot to do with coaching, because you were being genuinely and naturally curious, as you said, about what people needed. So you were asking them questions, whereas most salespeople go in and say, we have this, this, and this is what you need, and telling them rather than kind of eliciting that information from them, which is very coaching-like.
Exactly. And that's why I work with a lot of coaches, because a lot of coaches, they want to help people and do good. And that's seen as the opposite of sales. And what I'm saying is these new sales techniques, there's a new wave of selling now that is all about coaching your client to be the best they can be, and how your services or products can help them to achieve that. And that's what it's about now. It's not about what have I got the most of that I can shift as quickly as possible. That just doesn't work anymore. We are much more resistant to that, and not just because there's less money around and there's been an economic fallout, but because on a kind of almost spiritual or mental or emotional level, we don't like being pushed like that. We want to make our own choices. And with the power being so much more now with the buyer, they can find anything they want on the internet. And there's statistics showing that 60 to 70% of buying decisions are made before they even approach a company, because they've already made their own decisions. So you can't just be a walking catalogue or a price list, or you can't do that anymore. It's not enough. You've got to be there to give advice and guidance and assistance and be a real kind of challenger to them. And that's another big movement in sales at the moment, the challenger.
And so what's the challenger mean?
The Challenger was a study produced, I think, 2 or 3 years ago, one of the biggest studies, when they interviewed lots and lots of performing professional salespeople, and they found that out of all of the different personality types, like the lone wolf or the relationship builder, the Challenger type was the best at getting the results, getting sales figures in tough times, in good times, in complex sales, in simple sales. And despite all of the thinking and the training and the sales training, focusing on the relationship builder, that actually came out as the worst performing. And that is still sending shockwaves through the sales training industry. And a lot of companies have people at the top who've read the Challenger and they say, right, this is what we've got to do. But it's still being resisted by a lot of the sales forces, because it's completely turned sales training on its head.
And so how does the Challenger operate when they're in a sales environment?
Like a coach.
Okay, all right. Okay.
But a little bit more than a coach, because they won't just say, they won't just ask the questions passively, but they will put forward business models, different ways of thinking, industry knowledge, they really need to be experts in their field. So they're invited in as experts, as consultants more than salespeople, as trusted advisors. All of these terms are used now instead of salespeople who are really doing their job properly. So that if a person says, I come in, I need to buy more widgets, they won't just say, okay, how many do you want? They'll say, why do you need them? And is that still the right thing for your business? And have you considered this? And the company down the road who used to deal in widgets is now dealing in this. Is this something that could be of use to you? So it's really making people think. And that's what's so exciting about it.
It is exciting. And it's so much more. It puts the power in the client.
Yes.
And it also helps them find perhaps a better solution. Because oftentimes we think we know what we need, but we don't. And if we have someone to kind of pick our brains, we can see, oh, we don't need that. We need this other thing.
Exactly. And isn't that the same in coaching as well? Someone comes to you because they say they want to lose weight, but actually they've got lots of emotional issues buried deep inside, and it's actually that they need the help with.
Yes, exactly. So can you tell us a little bit about your business today? How does it function, and how do you help people with sales?
Well, I have a few things that I do for business owners, particularly women business owners. I have something called the Discover Your Inner Sales Superhero, where I do a personality profiling test. I use something called Talent Dynamics on them, which really speeds up the results because it tells me one of 8 profiles they're most likely to be. And once I know someone's personality profile, once I know what they're like, I can really help them cut out the stuff that they're wasting their time on. So if there's somebody who has been told they must go out networking and their personality really doesn't suit that and it's such hard work for them, I will give them other options that will make them much better results and give them more fun. So that's one of the things that I do. And I also work with teams of salespeople in companies, because when you've got the right combination of people in the team, then the sales cycle just flows quicker and quicker and quicker. If you've got lots of we call them stars in a sales team, then everyone's out for themselves and there's no one actually doing the follow-up and making sure the customers are looked after. And you need all of those different roles within the sales cycle for the customer experience to be the best that it can be. So I help companies work out their sales teams as well to improve their performance.
Okay, could you tell us a little bit more about talent dynamics? Because I've done mine and I found it to be so eye-opening to the point where I finally understood why I do the things I do, what are my, the things that really light me up. It was like I knew it, but having seen it in that profile, it completely changed my perspective on my business and really helped me realize not only what I should be doing in my business, but, how to do things. So can you tell us a little bit more about talent dynamics?
Sure. It's amazing, isn't it? Yeah,
I love it.
I get people saying, finally, I understand why I'm me. And it gives me the freedom to be me. Some people see personality profiles or things like that as pigeonholing and putting them in a box, and no one will see them differently. But this is so much more than that. It's a business tool. It opens up possibilities and it gives you the language to talk about yourself. Yes. So I mean, we also do talent dynamics for young people because it's so important that when they're looking for jobs, they know where their strengths are. When they're talking in interviews, they know where their talents are. So that's a whole other side of it.
I wish I'd had that when I was, getting ready to go to university and thinking, what the heck am I going to study?
Exactly. How many people have thought that? Yeah, I hear that a lot. Yeah. So the way I use it is to really help build confidence and build belief in who you are, and that your talents are the most important thing. And it doesn't matter what anybody else is doing. It doesn't matter what other people in your industry are doing. The way you do it has got to be the best way for you and the unique way for you. And that's the joy I have in helping people to discover that. That's what I really, really love. And the extension of that is how they then serve their clients, how they sell to their clients, how they interact with their clients, and growing their business and sales. It's just an extension of really knowing who you are and being authentic. Because we've heard this a million times, people buy from people, and you have to buy from people you know, trust and like. And if you don't know, trust or like yourself, then no one else is going to. So it starts with that.
Oh, I love that. Because I think so many people just don't know how to express who they are.
Exactly. And this gives you the language, and it just, as you read it, you'll resonate with at least 60-70% of it. There'll always be changes because we're all individual, and that's where I start with the one-to-ones. I start with really questioning, is this the right profile for you, or did you answer it on a funny day when you didn't feel right? So we really check that it's the right profile before we kind of go forward into advice and guidance on how they actually live it out and apply it to their life. It's all about applying it, because it's all very well getting a report and the language and knowing what you are, but putting it in a drawer and not doing anything with it is criminal.
Yes, definitely. So Nicci, what are your top tips on how people can serve their clients through selling? Because I think a lot of people don't see selling as a service, but it is.
Definitely is. Well, it should be. Let's put it that way.
It can be.
Yeah. So my 3 tips would be, the first one would be to really know yourself, because like I've said, it just leads on from what I've just said about the authenticity. You've got to be authentic, so know yourself and know what you're good at. That's the best way you can start with being a good salesperson. And the second one is to put the client first. The pushy kind of sleazy salespeople that give sales a bad name, they've obviously got their own agenda and they're not necessarily interested in you. You could be anyone. You could be a number. That's how we feel when we get those cold calls. But equally, if you are the kind of person that will talk to somebody and then not tell them about your service, not offer them a free trial or a free sample, or not offer them the next step, I see that as being selfish and putting your own agenda first, because you're putting your fear of failure and your fear of annoying somebody in front of serving them well. And so the biggest tip for me is this second one, is that you put the client's needs first and you're really present to them, and you ask questions and you find out what it is they really need. It's all that coaching skills coming out. You find out what it is they really need, and then be honest. Can you actually fulfill that need? And if not, then direct them to someone who can, because that trust has to be foremost. They'll come back to you months, years, weeks later if they trust you, but they won't come back to you if you try and sell them something that they really don't need. So that would be my second tip. Bit of a long one, but that's my second tip. And my third tip is to have a really clear reason why you're doing it. If you don't believe in your services and your products and why you're doing it, then people will pick up on that. And so if you really believe that you're helping people, that what you have is going to be the best thing to solve their problems, then that unshakable belief, which is hard to get, but once you've got it, is amazing. That will help you stand up and present in public. It will help you knock on doors of big companies. It will help you do those things that you might otherwise have been scared of, because it's bigger than you are. And what you're doing is bigger than you are. So if you've got a big, strong why, then you can be the best salesperson in the world, and you deserve to be, because you've got something that's good and worth giving to people.
Excellent. Now, can we talk a little bit more about the concept of selling as a service? Because, once I heard someone say, if you're in a conversation with someone and you know that you can help them, but you're not selling to them, or you're not offering them or telling them about what you do, you're doing them a disservice, because they could benefit from your help. And that really changed my perspective on sales and looking at how I kind of promote my stuff. So what's your take on that?
Well, I totally agree with that. That's exactly my philosophy. That and that's what I was saying before about people who put their own fear of rejection in the way. You're actually doing a disservice, and you're actually being kind of rude and unhelpful to somebody you could help, because you, by telling them about what you do, you could be opening up an interest in them, in what you do. And then if you're not offering it to them, and if you're not showing them how you could work together and how you could serve them, they may go to some sleazy person down the road, spend double the amount and get half the results. So it's your duty to really make it clear how you can help them in as transparent and honest ways as you can. I see it as simple steps. So often it's a big leap for people to say, do you want to buy? And there are much gentler ways you can do that. One of the expressions I've given to a lot of my clients who found it helpful was, once you found out what their needs are and you've explained to them what you can do for them, is just to say to them, how would you like to take this further? And it's entirely up to them then to make that decision. You've given them the options, you've given them the choices, and you're genuinely curious about what their take is on that. And you're genuinely waiting for their reply. It could be, great, I want to start now. It could be, this is really interesting, but I need to think about it. It could be, nah, that's not really right. And then you go back and start the conversation again to find out what their real needs are. But being curious has to be the way forward to find out exactly how you can serve them best.
And you're giving them the power, because some people say, well, when should I get back in touch with you so we can talk about this? Or, when should I follow up with you? But it's like, maybe they don't want you to follow up with them. So by saying to them, how would you like to take this further? They can say, I think I need to think about it. I'll get back to you. But it's giving them the opportunity to say yes, no, maybe later. Yeah,
and it's keeping the conversation open as well, because that more times I get a yes answer to that question because they feel like I've been honest and trustworthy in sharing what I can do for them. Mm-hmm. But if they do say I need to think about it, then we either continue the conversation there and then, and I find out what the problems still are, what they need reassurance on, or I'll say, okay, that's fine. I won't just leave it because that's what a lot of people do. I'll then say, okay, I'll ring you next week. Would that be better for you? And in the meantime, I will send them something. I will send them a little quiz to do or a blog to read or something that I think would be of interest to them and relevance to them. And that gets me the sales as well, because you're showing that you care, you're showing that you listened and that you are ready to serve them, and you're just waiting for when they're ready, and that often gets the sale as well. So it's not leaving it and waiting for them to come back to you, because that's kind of abandoning your duty. But continuing to show that you are there to serve and care about them, that's what gets the sale often.
Yeah. So it's like showing that you're there and you're ready and you're willing, but not desperate to close the sale.
Exactly. I call it CNA, committed but not attached.
Oh, I like that.
So you're committed to serving them, but you're not emotionally attached. You're not going to fall down in a jellied heap crying if they say no.
Yeah, I think we've all been approached by that desperate salesperson or desperate business owner who really needs to make the sale because they haven't had a client in a while.
Yeah, and it reeks, doesn't it? It reeks of desperation, and you really don't want to work with someone like that.
Exactly, because you think, are they selling to me because they really think this is my best interest and I can benefit from this, or is it because they just need to pay their bills?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, Nicci, how can other women in business benefit from working with you? You've mentioned your Discover Your Inner Sales superhero. What's the best way for people to either kind of approach you or get to know you or start working with you?
Well, have a look at my website, where there's lots of free resources on there. On my LinkedIn profile, there are over 60 testimonials of women, mostly women, who've worked with me. So you get an idea of what kind of things I can help people with. And then to have, I've got if they have a go at the Talent Dynamics profile, you can get that on my website. And I think for £199, you can have the profile and an hour with me to work out exactly how you apply that to your business and to either get more sales or grow your business or grow your confidence, but really understand who you are and how you can apply that to your business. That's been the most effective thing for people to understand how to work with me.
And I think that makes sense, because oftentimes we do a profiling tool, we get the report, we read it, and then we kind of put it aside and forget about it. It's sitting off in this folder on our computer. But actually learning how to apply that in your life and in your business is what's really going to make the difference.
Yeah. That's what I love doing. Yeah.
Great. So, Nicci, do you have any women business mentors? Are there any women in business who inspire you?
Yes. Well, I'm lucky to be working with Joanna Martin at the moment. Do you know her?
Yeah.
She became famous for doing selling from the stage, and she's actually going back to that. She's doing another course of that in September in London. So that's exciting. But in the meantime, since she's had her son, she's been setting up the One of Many movement, which I've just joined. And I'm actually going on a retreat tomorrow morning with her and 50 other women who want to make a difference. They want to do more than just set up their own business. They want to make a difference. So that's really exciting, and I'm enjoying working with her, and also with Susie Heath, who is an amazing coach. She wrote a book, The Feminine Archetypes, and she's just written a new book, Dance to the Top, of using dance and your body and your expressiveness. I haven't read that one yet. I only got that on Saturday, but I'm also working with Susie, and she's just an incredible woman, very, very powerful coach. So yes, I have to have a coach in my life for myself, otherwise I don't function. Which might be a big admission to make, but it's but I'm a supporter profile in the talent dynamics, which means I can't operate on my own. I need people around me, and acknowledging that was one of the big things that helped me grow my business. That I'm a supporter and I need other people around me. So, yeah.
Excellent. And in what other ways did your life and your business change after you found out what your talent dynamics profile was?
Well, the very first time, I'll be honest, the very first time I did talent dynamics, I came out as a star profile. So I thought I needed to do more presentation, more webinars, more speaking and in the spotlight. And I got really exhausted. I did too much of it. And I did the profile again, and this time had an in-depth, because I don't think I had a debrief the first time I did it. I did it like we're talking about and just read it and didn't actually apply it. But the second time I did have coaching around it and realized, yes, I am a supporter. I can be a star. I can do that on a Monday and a Tuesday, but I can't do it all week. And so the supporter profile really showed to me I do need the team around me. So now I have a VA who, she's actually a PA. She works in my house 3 days a week, and she had to be a trader profile. That's what I was looking for, because I go out and network a lot. I meet lots of people. I make all these great interactions with people. I make these great relationships and promise them to follow up because I know that's important. And then I don't leave myself enough time to do that. So I bring all this back to my office, and she's also called Nicci, which is confusing for people that ring up. But Nicci then makes it happen. She does all of my CRM. She does all of my follow-up. She just makes things happen. And that's why I knew, once I knew I was a supporter, I knew who I needed around me. And the other person I need is a mechanic. And I've been working with a coach called Simon Davis, who has helped me package together my material in a way that I could never have done on my own. So by knowing who you are, it can help identify. If you move 2 steps around, that's the first person you need around the talent dynamic square, and then move 3 steps around from there, and within 3 people, which is the smallest team you can have, you've got all the 4 energies in one team.
Okay, so moving 2 steps around clockwise?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
So if you move 2 down from supporter, you get to trader, which is what I need, and then 3 more on takes you to the mechanic, which is the person I found this year. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, I think one of the most interesting things I've heard from people who really know and have stepped into their talent dynamics role is that they know which people to bring on their team.
Exactly. That's one of the most powerful things. And this 2+3 thing, I only found out maybe a year or so ago. But since I've shared that, so many other people have found that one of the most important things.
Yeah, because I think so often we tend to want to hire people who are like us, but of course that's exactly what we don't need. We like them and we get along with them and we feel this great connection with them, but they're not who we need to support us in our busises because they're just like us.
And stars are the worst for that. Stars should never recruit on their own. They need to have someone else there with them because they want everyone to be like them.
Yes, that makes sense. Yeah. So Nicci, thank you so much for joining us today and telling us about such useful information. I think a lot of people, it will be new for them because I found talent dynamics and wealth dynamics to be so useful and so powerful in my business. And there's so many times when I'm discussing it with people and they go, what's that? I've never heard of that. So I really recommend, I urge people who are listening to this, if you haven't done it, do get in touch with Nicci, because you won't just get the profile results, but you'll also get that one-to-one support that'll help you make sense of what the heck it is that your profile is. So definitely.
Brilliant.
So Nicci, where can people find you online? You mentioned LinkedIn. Where else can people find you?
My website is trustedsalesdynamics.com. My tweet is Nicci Bonf, NICCIBONF. I've got a Facebook page, which is TD and then the number 4 sales, TD4 sales. I think I've got a Pinterest board, but I'm not very often on there, so that I wouldn't recommend that.
Okay, perfect.
I think that's it. Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, thank you again. It was such a pleasure to talk with you about this. This is a topic that I love, and I think it will be really, really useful for our listeners. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome. I've enjoyed it too. Thank you.
Great. And thank you for listening. And remember to visit readytobloom.com/106 for the show notes on this episode. Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to the Ready to Bloom podcast with your host, Holly Wharton. You can find more information about today's guests, including links for topics that were discussed at readytobloom.com. That's ready, the number 2, bloom.com. And if you enjoyed this episode, please remember to head over to iTunes and leave us a quick review of this podcast. Thank you so much.